gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes in with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you're stuck with me because I'm the one that does this show and nobody else is available. So this is what you get. This is the pinnacle of your night, hopefully. I don't know if that's the case or not, but thanks all of you for being here with me. We had a earlier show today. We did an 11 o'clock show, 11 a.m., if you can believe that, the first time ever on the Paranormal Portal. But we had special guests, the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, on, and we basically announced the launch of their second documentary, which is The Woodwose, Walking with the Wild Man 2. And if you didn't see that earlier, definitely check it out. It was a great time, great discussion. And we even debuted the teaser trailer. So good fun, but I'm actually directly involved with this project too, full disclosure. So I have a vested interest in it as well because I'm the narrator. I'm the Mike Rowe of this project. I don't know if I qualify as a Mike Rowe or not, but it's really cool to do something different and have a lot of fun doing it. I voiced over their trailer for the first film that they did. They were releasing it on Amazon Prime US, and so I did the voiceover for the trailer that appears on Amazon, and that's Walking with the Wild Man. Walking with the Wild Man is the name of the documentary. If you check it out on Amazon Prime, it's really worth a watch. They did a really nice job, but they're saying that part 2 is going to blow everyone away with how well it's being done and all the care that they're putting into it. Of course, the first film was their maiden voyage into this neck of the woods with doing documentaries that were released far and wide on mass media, and they did a hell of a job. They really, really did. And so I did the trailer for that one, and then they contacted me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to actually narrate throughout the whole of the second one." I'm like, all right, I can do that. I'd love to do that. So that's my role in it. And I did the quick voiceover intro of the teaser trailer that we aired today. So if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. They're great guys. They really are. And you got to love that accent. I love accents anyway. I've just always been a fan of people with accents. And so I just love listening. But those guys are fantastic, and they put a lot of love into what they're doing. They're completely and thoroughly dedicated to their craft, and I'm sure it will be absolutely phenomenal. So anyway, that was earlier today, but I'm back again. I wasn't sure if I was going to do 2 shows today or not, but my love of the portal overwhelmed it. So I'm here to bring you another show, a Night Terrors, of course, which is at our normally scheduled time. So the phones will be open throughout the duration of our show tonight. Call-in number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. I got to reach way over here for the end of that. But if during the course of the show you're like, oh, what was that number again? Well, it's right up here. It's right up here above my finger. So it's right under the words Paranormal Portal. If you're looking for the number to call in later, like you get an idea, oh, I should share this. Well, by all means, please do. I love hearing from you guys. And hello to the new faces of people that are stopping in. It's great to see some new names pop up on the list. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy the shows. And as always, please subscribe and like. That's huge. Subscriptions are a big thing for me personally. It's like a milestone. But the likes are definitely huge because it's feeds the algorithm. It's the YouTube algorithm looks at the interactions for the audience. And if there's a lot of interactions, it'll pump up our video to recommend to other people. So please give us likes. It really helps. It really does. It's not just a cosmetic thing, believe it or not. You can give us dislikes if you want to. At least it's an interaction and it shows audience involvement. So, dislikes are actually not as negative as people think because it shows people are involved. So either way, it helps. But I hope you like what you're here watching. I never understand that logic. It's like, oh, I hate this show, and I'm going to stick around and watch how much I hate it. It's like, really? You don't like the show, then watch something you enjoy. But anyway, my 2 cents. But I hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that means we are officially underway now. We got the intros all out of the way. So I am going to do my best to entertain you for the next 45, 50 minutes, whatever the hell we end up doing. Could be an hour. I don't know. Could be an hour and a half. I see there's conspiracy in the chat room to make sure people call in right at the tail end of the show because it extends the shows. And I think it cracks me up really because I guess it's a good thing. If you wanted me to shut up, then I wouldn't be doing a good job. So if you want me to continue, that makes me feel good. So thank you for that. But I will just tell you that there's a 4-year-old on the other side of that wall that doesn't have a lot of patience past a specific time. So I may have to leave anyway, but I love that you guys want me to stay. That means a lot. So anyway, I'm going to skip this one. Screw this. I just don't feel like doing sleep paralysis. Those are interesting and stuff, and I do apologize for any enthusiasts out there that are really into the whole sleep paralysis, old hag syndrome. I know there's something to it. Believe me, I've dealt with it. I dealt with it for a number of years myself, and I know it's real. But there's only so much you can talk about, in that experience, and it's pretty much rinse and repeat kind of phenomena where it's like you're sleeping, you hear a noise or you feel a presence, and you're kind of locked in your body. You can't move, and you feel like something's pressing you down, and it's horrible. And it is horrible, and I'm not making light of that. Now, I will say, as with any kind of spiritual attack or attachment, there's ways to mitigate that. If you happen to be someone dealing with sleep paralysis that you believe is sorry, I feel like I've got a hair going up my nose or something. Kitties. But if you feel like you're under attack by something in your sleep that's locking you in place and in your body, treat it like a haunting. Do some saging, do some cleansing. Find out herbs and rituals and crystals and prayers and holy water and things like that can help protect your space of sleep. If you create a barrier through whatever your faith is, you can protect yourself from these things. And a lot of us feel like we're helpless. And if you don't really know, start looking into it, because you can protect yourself in 99.9% of the cases from spiritual things. We do have that means. We just don't always know the recipes. So do some time and take, and if you need some advice or anything, please reach out to me. I do ask you guys, if you have stories, to reach out to me via email at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. But if you just are dealing with something and you want to ask, a question about what to do, please reach out to me as well. It doesn't have to be just for show content. If anybody out there needs help, I'm happy to help any way that I can. Or I can help you put you in touch with somebody that can help you better than I'm able to. So please, feel free. But yeah, but sleep paralysis stories are really quite repetitious. So I hope you don't mind if I skip them from time to time. I'll read them every once in a while, but just from time to time. So anyway, let's go to Wisconsin for the first story tonight. And this is talking about haunted places. Haunted places. Let's roll up the sleeves. We're about to get busy up in here. All right, so it says, I suppose I have a lot to add to my original haunting that dates further back in history before us kids experienced anything out on the farm. Most of the hauntings that we experienced happened in our young lives, but again, there were many times they still hung around us even as we got older. So I'll share with you incidents before I was born and well after. My parents built their house out in the boondocks. The land that they were building on is connected to my grandparents' farm. While my dad was growing up, the current location of the house was pasture land for the cattle. My parents did a lot of rock picking to clear the area for the house as they built it up from the bottom up. Back then, there was little grass and a lot of sand, rocks, and snakes. The basement was finished as a whole house before the main floor and the accidental attic. As they lived in the basement with my older two brothers, the essence of the place affected its own aura. These are claims from my mom. There are sections I will divide the house into so it makes some more sense, but the front part of the house is facing north. The back obviously is facing south. Now there are the east and west sides that are divided with activity. The basement floor that eventually became my older two brothers' bedrooms are on each side. One is on the east, and which is on the top floor, which on the top floor is my bedroom as well. And the other is on the west that also has my younger brother's bedroom on the top floor. So the stories don't get confusing. Mom and Dad had their original bedroom in the basement on the west side. Next to that is the back room, we call it today, and that holds water hose and pump, and for some reason, that tiny space never had a door. It's just a spider web fiasco. Thus, in the center of the basement, they had the kitchen, and back then, the east bedroom was the living room. Well, Mom said that she had been busy battling snakes her entire time living in the basement. They were absolutely everywhere. My dad killed one in the sandy driveway, but it struck a foot high, snapping at him before losing its head and dying at the sundown. Don't ask me why I'm adding the snakes in the story. It just sounds creepy to have them hanging around your house all the time. Ever since I was born, there hadn't been one single snake. My dad must have killed them all. Mom claims that one day that something was jumping up and down on their bed in the west bedroom one time. She saw the indentations of the footprints of the bed bouncing, but nothing was there. Another time she filled up the swimming pool with water for the ducks and went into the house for a quick snack. And when she came out, the water in the pool was gone and it wasn't wet anywhere near it. The water just somehow disappeared. There also was a jogger who ran up to the house all the time only to find out that no one was ever there running up to the house. These are the recent stories I remember her telling me after we told her as kids what we were seeing there. Excuse me. Mom was sleeping upstairs in their new bedroom on the west side when flashes of light woke her from her sleep. It looked like an ambulance light or something, but she checked everywhere, and the light came from nowhere. Then it all just died as fast as it came. Another time, the phone in the house just kept giving short rings while the house shook as if graders were working on it. Although nothing was outside to make the house shake and the phone to ring in short rings, whoever heard of earthquakes in Wisconsin? You know, I used to think the same thing about Idaho. We just had a 6.5 in Idaho not too long ago. I can remember horror stories from my older brother that a boogeyman lived in the basement and would come out at night. Of course, my bedroom was the west basement room at that time, so I'd be laying there watching the doorknob to move, thinking he would just walk through the door. And there were plenty of nights as a small child I can remember not being able to sleep, always looking out in the dark, that something was there. I was too young to recall supernatural things, but something was definitely around, and I was well aware of that. As young as I was, playing in the sandy driveway with my brothers, always at dusk, seemed to get really eerie. Then, of course, there's all the occasions when my cousin came over and we were introduced into the great unknown. The doorbell liked to play on its own accord. Then there was a time in high school that got our dad's girlfriend involved in an investigation as well. It was Christmas Eve, and we were all goofing around after opening presents, and she was getting out the champagne, and she came in the living room on the west side and noticed a light in the lawn that was very eerie. It showed up down in the lawn from nowhere. The three of us tried figuring out where it came from. We tried all the lights in the house to make that reflection, but nothing made it. Then all at once, it turned itself off, and to this day, that light on Christmas Eve remains a mystery. Never would we ever have thought that his girlfriend, of all people, would be noticing odd things as well as us kids. I don't understand. Does he not? There's a mom here too, right? A father and a mother, and then there's a girlfriend. I don't know if it's just a friend that's a girl, and that's what this person's saying. I don't know. I'm confused about that. But anyway, my father's a non-believer in anything that isn't practical. The only thing closely to this incident is the time when we were kids and Mom dropped off our two older brothers at Dad's on Christmas. Oh, well, there you go. That just explained it. And got stuck in the road not far from the house. As she walked to the house to get our father, I noticed a light above a tree that I thought at the time resembled a candy cane. My brother saw it too, and it didn't stay long, just about 10 or 15 seconds, and disappeared. And all was dark again. I don't know what it has been about Christmas and lights, but it's very odd. Older now and out of school, I was still living at home, and I had my first car now as well. One night out in the driveway, the horn started blaring all by itself. I went out there finally and pounded on it to shut it up. There was no reason why it decided to sing by itself. Maybe the doorbell told it to, I don't know. But it's not like it was a jolly time of the year. It was winter for criminy sakes. I don't know what they're saying there, but figure of speech, I guess. Well, let me get back to the east and west of things. The reason I divided the house into two separate sections is it seems as though most of the incidents were on the west side. The driveway is on the east side, but when it comes to the inside of the house, the west end is always way more productive than the east side. I like to throw coincidences into things as well. As for my brother, he has a bedroom on the same side of the house as me, and we both have the same sort of lives in some ways. And my two brothers that have rooms on the west side, well, their lives are more alike too. I have no idea if sides of the house can determine that, but in our haunted house, it appears to be so. I can't think of any other stories at this moment, but that would relate to this property. And nowadays, the worst that ever happens is the house is just way too quiet. I love quietness, but sometimes that place is just too quiet. When you start hearing the noise, then you know that it's home. It sounds to me like they may very well have a portal that they're dealing with there on that property, and might be an incredibly significant one. The odd lights without sources and stuff, and flashes of lights, I think it can be very indicative of something potentially coming through a portal. It's believed that when things would come through a portal, like a spirit portal, that there would be some kind of burst of gamma because, it's basically there's a I don't know if it's a dimensional wall or whatever that's being purged or broken, or opened and shut, whatever. But that anytime that would happen, there should be like a burst of gamma rays, and that may induce a sensation of light. It may give give a sensation of light, or it may actually create light. Hell, I don't know. But, the whole idea of these lights that are appearing, but there doesn't seem to be any source, and all these strange weirdness with the doorbells and all the electronics and stuff. I don't know that it's all an intentional, ideas of a playful spirit. It might be. It may very well might be, but it could just be strangeness from there being a portal. It is a huge energetic event for anything to pass through the wall, the barrier between this world and the next, and that is believed most often to happen in places where portals are present. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just telling you what I've heard and what I understand. But it seems to me that might be what they're dealing with, and if that's the case, they probably should get that shut. Probably should close that door. But oddly enough, it doesn't sound like anything was horrible in that home. Obviously the parents' relationship was broken, and that happens whether your house is haunted or not. Believe me, I've got a few of those in my past. So, I don't know. It's just a possibility that there's a portal present, and, sometimes you got to deal with portals. Let's go to the next one, and this one is coming from Virginia, and it has to do with haunted places. It's a pretty short one. It says, a few nights ago, I went on my first ghost hunt. I'm an inexperienced ghost hunter and have annoyed some ghost. The road I live on is haunted by a farmer who, a long time ago on the hill behind my house, was accidentally sucked into part of his tractor, ripping him to shreds. Well, he still haunts my road. Anyway, when I was up there on my hunt, I tried to make contact with a spirit, and it was then that I could feel a presence, so I ran back to my house, seeing many unexplainable things. That night, while in my room dozing, I was awoken to my mom screaming. I ran to her room, and she said that she saw someone in her room. My stepdad was in the living room, and I was in the bedroom, and there was no one else in our house. I was just terrified and spent a long time praying that it wouldn't visit me. I've always felt as if somebody's watching me, but lately the feeling has been even worse than usual. My dogs have been staring at something, and my puppy was staring at something on his bed and whimpering. And last night, in my room, I was just listening to music and looked over at my nightstand, and what looked like smoke was coming towards me. At first, I thought it was just a reflection from my mirror, but then it came back and got closer and then just disappeared. I'm really scared, so scared. I went out there a few hours ago and begged it to leave me and my family alone. I've lived in 2 other haunted houses, but neither one has been my fault. I don't know what to do. I think here again, I have to, it's like my public service announcement. If you're going to look for spirits, if you're going to play around with the spirits, and by play around, I don't mean that that you're doing anything intentionally wrong, but anytime you're looking for spirits, you do run the risk of dragging something home with you. And if you're ever going to go on a ghost hunt, a ghost walk, a ghost tour, do paranormal investigating or whatever, I strongly recommend protecting yourself. Start with a prayer, with a ceremony of some kind, whatever works for you and your belief system. Start with a prayer and ask to be protected. A lot of people pray to Archangel Michael. That's a real popular one. And, you do whatever resonates with you, and whatever, whatever principalities you feel are best called in to protect you. But ask for protection. And then when you're done, close it. You've got to close it. And it can be closed with prayer. Pray that, the light of God or whatever, prayer, or some kind of prayer. And I'm not advocating any one religion. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe that, that it matters a whole lot personally. Believe what you want, but some kind of ceremony at the end to ask for anything that might be attached itself to you to be broken, to be left in that place. Definitely make statements to the spirits. They're not allowed to follow you. You've got to protect yourself. You've got to clear that energy off of you. Think of it like first washing before you go into a very particular work environment. Like if you worked in a laboratory, you have to get really clean before you go in. And then when you're done, you've got to get really clean to come out, just in case anything from the laboratory attached to you. Think of spiritual hunting the same way, or spiritual endeavors the same way. It's very important to make sure that you're not allowing something to attach and ride home with you, because then you get to deal with it, much like this person. And they don't, this kind of information isn't out there a whole lot. And that's one of the things that bothers me about the paranormal is there's lots of information out there about the paranormal, and there's lots of bad information about the paranormal out there. Always protect yourself. Find something to believe in. Symbols, crystals, essential oils, incenses, whatever. Whatever resonates with you, use it. Can be, crosses, crucifix, holy water, whatever. This isn't about any one being any better than any other. It's what matters is what you believe in. But you've got to protect yourself going in, and you've got to cleanse yourself and clear yourself coming out. You can do it with Native American sage, white sage. You could smudge yourself going in and smudge yourself coming out. Lots of different methods. Again, whatever resonates with you, but otherwise these things happen, and they happen far too often because a lot of people don't know about this. They just watch, they watch some paranormal TV show, and they just show them going in, they show them coming out. One thing that I always liked about Ghost Asylum, or whatever it's called now, if it's still in production, I don't even know, but and it's not me advocating Christianity again, it's whatever, but the point is that they started with a prayer, with a ceremony to begin. They didn't just charge in there and go crazy and then come out and go, why is my bed moving? Why can't I find my car keys anymore? And why is there socks in my refrigerator? So, it's just a great best practice, and it will take care of almost everything that could cause you problems down the road. So just an FYI, take it or leave it, but definitely, anytime you're going to deal with spirituality, think about it as if you're working in a laboratory with viruses or whatever. You've got to be very careful, because we don't understand a lot about this stuff, and there's some really nasty things out there. So you don't want to drag something home for your family to deal with. All right, let's go on to the next one, and this one is coming from Maine. We don't see a lot from Maine, but we got a call here, so let's get to this call and find out just what's going on in area code 409. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent, you there?
I'm here. How you doing?
Hey, this is AJ from last night, man.
Hey, brother, how you doing? Thanks for calling in again.
I'm pretty good. I got a few little other stories for you guys.
Well, by all means. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all remember the one from last night, but
oh yeah,
it was about the same time in my life, when I was maybe 10 or 12 years old. And it was actually after what had happened with what I described last night.
Okay.
And the same little patch of woods, me and my buddies used to play in all the time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, we were back there, and we were building something or doing something, jumping ramps, whatever, doing kid stuff.
Okay.
And there's a definite positive image I can still see in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't talked to my buddies that were my buddies back in the day, from 30-something years ago.
Okay.
But it looked like I would say like an F-16 fighter jet.
Okay.
That flew down so close to us, and it looked like a G.I. Joe figure as a pilot, and he waved to us. No, it's the strangest thing, and I can't explain it to anybody.
Uh-huh.
They would just laugh at me if I do. So,
Sure. Was it full sized? Like it was a full size plane?
well, at the time, like I said, I was 10, 12 years old,
Sure.
and it looked like a full size jet.
Wow.
And it was so low and going so slow. It was crazy. Now I can see it. I can still see it in my mind, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it was during the day, and it was broad daylight. We were having a good day, and all of a sudden this thing comes in, and right there, just like, I can't say if it was a UFO. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I was too young, but it still sits in my head that I remember it.
Was it loud or was it silent?
No, it was quiet.
Okay.
Totally quiet.
Wow.
Totally quiet. I would have to take you to the spot and let you see, because, like I'm saying, it was a little bit of woods,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like you couldn't see through the woods. And there was a clearing overhead, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not like thick forest or nothing,
Sure.
but it was the weirdest thing.
That is a weird thing. Yeah. Wow. And do you remember being scared, or were you just like, "Oh, that's strange," or what was your
No,
reaction?
we all waved at him. We were all waving, like, hey, like we could just all see it,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow. That's intense.
Yep. That was the strangest thing. Strangest thing.
Yeah, that's very
So
strange.
anyway, like last night, I said, after that, I didn't have anything else happen, or, you know, any paranormal activity come over me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one other time. I was probably, I'm going to say 17,
Mm-hmm.
when I was getting ready to leave high school. And me and my buddies, and I'll say their first name, Cody and Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you
Okay.
great. Yep.
So we were in a boat on the bayou. We live on the bayou down here in southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana.
Okay.
So we went out on the bayou one night coon hunting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're spotlighting coon hunting, and I just shot one up in the tree. We spotlighted it. I shot it. We got out and got it. We took off in the boat, and we're going down the bayou, and right over us, a big freaking orange orb, a big orange orb,
Mm-hmm.
came, floated over the water, and just, boom, instantly went up. We didn't say anything to each other for that whole night. We looked at each other. We were like, what?
Wow.
We camped out on the bayou. The next day, we didn't say nothing. It was about 2 weeks later. We're like, what do y'all think that was? Because we were skeptics, dude. I mean, big time.
Yeah,
Big time skeptics, you know?
that's amazing.
So it took us all about 2 weeks to say, hey, now I can call them today and say, hey, remember that orb? And they're all like, yeah, dude, what was that about?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no idea.
Wow.
No idea.
That's intense.
So it's just strange stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really intense.
Strange stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've had a pretty interesting run, I think, brother.
Well, it's taken a while to come out with it, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Now let me ask you, does it feel good to talk
But-
about it?
Oh, yeah, it's been pretty cool, man.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's been pretty cool. And then seeing the, because like I said the other night, I've never told anybody in my life about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing the feedback on the chat,
Yeah.
hey, man, that's cool stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah, this is a good place. I mean, this is a good community, and I can't take a lot of credit for that, but we just have a lot of wonderful people here, you know, that take part in the shows, and It's just so much caring and love. It's awesome. So I'm glad this is a healing experience for you as well. Carrying that stuff around with nothing to do with it, and not knowing what to do with it, is a tough thing. So I'm glad that you got this release.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, for 30 something years,
Mm,
that's a that's a long time to go with not talking about whatever. But it's so strange that nobody, here's the deal. You hold it in because you would think that nobody would ever believe you
right.
in your life.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And nobody wants to be
anyway,
that guy. Nobody wants to be that guy. The one that, oh yeah, did you hear his story? Jeez, nobody wants to be that person. But I think the cool thing is that as people get empowered and talk about it, then suddenly other hands start going up in the room and like, well, wait, one time I saw this, and all of a sudden we got more in common than we got different.
well, and that's what kind of empowered me to come on here
Mm-hmm.
and share these few things, because I heard things on here that were like, man, are they really, is it believable? Yeah, it probably is, because of the things that I've seen and been through.
Yeah. Yep. And I think most people have one or two of these stories at least. It's just they don't know what to do with them either. So it's just really cool to have more and more people come forward and share, because I think it helps all of us, and it's empowering to all of us as well. Like, we're not alone. There's I think more people that have had experiences than haven't.
Absolutely. So I appreciate y'all listening and, giving me an outlet to expand on that.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
I've watched you guys for a long time,
Oh, cool.
but
Thank you.
just now calling in. So
Well, I'm really glad you
anyway,
did. I'm really glad you did, and thank you, brother. And anything more pops up in your memory, just come on in. Come on in, and we'll have a talk.
I will, bud.
All right, brother. You have a good night. Thank you for so much, and we'll
I
talk to you soon.
appreciate you.
Okay, good night.
Take care.
Very cool. That's tough. When you're carrying this stuff around, I think it's also, it can be healing, not only emotionally, but I think a lot of the ailments that plague us later in life, I think some of them could very well be emotionally based. Like, things we've carried for far too long just kind of fester, and they become problems physically for us in some manner. Like that pain and confusion manifests itself in some way. So if you can talk about it, it's a release. It's a release. It's like a muscle that's spasmed and it's tight and it's achy, and you try to deal with it yourself. You take ibuprofen, you take Tylenol, whatever, to deal with it. But basically, that tissue that stays in spasm like that, it's just locked. Well, it's not getting blood flow. It's not getting the blood flow it needs. It's not getting that healthy release and exchange of gases and nutrients and stuff. And what ends up happening is that scar tissue starts to replace the muscle tissue, and then you've got real problems. So I think that letting out these things that are wound up in us is it's like putting down a brick you've been carrying for decades. It's like putting down a brick, and it's just like, I can breathe. I feel better. I feel better. And I think feeling better is not just an emotional statement. I think that it can help holistic healing as well. I think that we are energetic beings, and we do manifest these bodies. These are our vehicles, but they're also a representation of us. And it's important to release pain, release those things that are bound up and wound up in us, so that we can live well. So I commend all of you that are brave enough to call in and share your stories, and I'm really honored that you choose to do it here. And I always hope that everyone feels like this is a safe place to do that, because it's an incredible act of bravery to try to come to terms with the impossible. And this stuff is the impossible. I mean, it's obviously possible because it happens, but our minds aren't conditioned to think about these things in our modern world. So I mean, thank you to everybody that shared, and thank you, AJ. I appreciate it, brother. It's not easy, but I'm glad that it's a good experience for you, and to everyone else that shared on this show in whatever manner you've done it. That's amazing. So, you guys are awesome. All right, so let's continue on here, and we're going to go to Maine. Maine. We will remain in Maine. It's a family and friends visit story. And these are always awesome. God, really? It's already almost 45 minutes of the show. Jeez. Sheesh. I was 3 minutes late starting the show, though, so 42 minutes. Oh, I just wiggled the desk. I thought something was tapping on the door. I thought maybe the minion was getting impatient, but nope. It was just me rocking the desk. Okay, so this one is family and friends visits. It says, my name's Tara, and I'm scared. About 5 years ago, my mom's best friend, Ivy, passed away, but before she did, she was also my best friend. Ever since she died, some strange things have been happening during these past few years. Although they've stopped now, the feeling that I experienced in those years will never leave my body. I was in Thailand during my school's summer vacation when my mom called me to tell me the terrible news. I cried my eyes out, and I came back after a few weeks to visit her grave. And I wore a black dress and gave her a red rose. Just about everything. And as soon as I stood there, staring at her gravestone, I wondered how life would be different after this. That's when everything changed. A few days later, I was half awake when I heard my mom call for me in my room, and she said, Tara, please help me. And I thought she wanted help with the groceries or something, but I fell asleep, and she never called me back. I got up around noon and went to see her in her room and asked her what she needed help with, but she told me that she wasn't even in the house and had arrived a few minutes before I woke up. I thought it was really pretty strange, but maybe it might have been a silly dream or something. A few weeks later, things got even weirder. My mom buys statues from Thailand and keeps them in the living room for show. And at night, I remember going to get some milk when I heard something fall and break. I turned around and saw that there was a statue of a lady broken. Coincidentally, Ivy had gotten this for my mom in Thailand as a birthday gift a few years before, and I told my mom, and she took care of it. And the strange thing was, after she left with the pieces, the statue next to it, which was sister of the other one, had fallen and broken as well. But as my mom looked at this one, we both realized it wasn't broken as much, and we decided to piece them together in the morning. The next day, as my mom and I were piecing the statue back together, I noticed that there was a missing piece. The weird thing was that the missing part was the heart piece that apparently bounded the two statues together. I still didn't think of it as anything, even though it was really pretty strange. The next few months, the same thing kept happening. And that was when I became really suspicious, and I knew there must be something going on for the same thing to keep happening a billion times afterwards. About 3 years after, I was yard working outside, and I saw what appeared to be a piece of marble. Well, I picked it up, and I saw that it was the missing piece to the statue. What was even stranger was that the statue was inside our house. I told my mom about the events, and she also started freaking out just like I was. The sound of strange voice that sounded like my mom but wasn't, and items breaking, so I decided to visit Ivy's grave again and ask her what was going on. I'll never really know for sure. Everything stopped happening after that. I'm kind of glad, but all of a sudden, I feel so lonely. It was as if what was scaring me was my best friend. That's tough. I don't know. I would be really careful though about just importing those kind of symbols. Because here's the thing, and this is take it or leave it. I don't know. It's up to you. I think you got to be careful when you buy things from other countries, not because that I think those things are wicked or anything like that, but I think sometimes these statues can have very they're usually fashioned with a purpose. Like, you know, in many cases they're symbolic statues. They're symbols of something. Could be a deity. Could be a, you know, an event. Could be a talisman or something to that measure. And if you don't really understand what you're buying, but it's like, oh, that'll look good next to the sofa. Yeah, but it might be like the god of death or something, you know. So definitely look into what you're dragging into your house. And, you know, I don't know. I think that anything that's created, it's imbued with energy to some degree. Like somebody made it. They made it with an intention. And usually those kind of things are hand carved or handcrafted. And so, you know, it was carved by somebody. What if that somebody was just having a really bad week or a bad month or whatever, and everything was just going horrible? So they're dealing with all that stress and they're pouring it into the statue that you're going to bring into your house. So I would always recommend, you know, and this isn't just from other countries. I mean, obviously for the symbols, you should know what you're bringing into your house, because symbols have power, even if you don't believe in them. They have power to somebody that made them. So that power is then brought into your house and can you know, make things go sideways. Very rare, but it happens. But other than that, you're dealing with the state of mind of the person who is making it. They're crafting that item while pouring that energy into that item, whether they know it or not. So that's why it's, you know, if you're ever making something, make sure to make it with love, because then you're pouring love into the world. But if you're pissed off at the world and you're making stuff for other people, that's not really probably need to find a different job. Just my 2 cents again, but energy follows intention, ladies and gentlemen. And energy is incredibly powerful, and emotion coupled with that energy is incredibly potent. And that's the basis of magic. You know, any magical system is based on pushing energy towards an intent. And it's done through symbols, through ritual, through practices. And so, you know, but we're always casting spells, whether we know it or not, although, you know, we don't call them spells. But you are, anything you do in life, you are sending energy into the world around you. And so always be mindful of that. Okay, so the next one is from Kentucky. Kentucky. You know, I marvel at the how many paranormal things there are out there, paranormal shows and paranormal resources and stuff. And I'm not trying to elevate myself above anybody else, but I got to tell you that there is so much bad information out there. There really is. There's a lot of people that are doing this, and they do it because they love it. I think that they genuinely do. But I think there's a lot of things that people are dealing with that they don't really understand. And that really makes me feel cautious. Like, ugh. Anyway, that was a thought that occurred to me today as I was combing through things. It's like, wow, no, that's not the right way to go about that. And I don't know that I'm right or wrong. I just know that I'm right for me. And I tell you what I think, because I think that, you know, it's part of what I do. Like, I feel like, you know, I try to give really good advice, and I try to, you know, bring you guys information that I think will help, because I think that, you know, being aware of energy, being aware of its influence on us, whether it's spiritual, whether it has a presence, or whether it's just a benign environmental energy, you've got to be aware of it. You've got to know how to deal with it. And it's stuff that, you know, I've been working through my whole life. So I hope that the information I give you guys, you just know that it's coming with my best intent to try to help. But anyway, I don't know. Let's go to Kentucky and oh, this one sounds dark. It's a part 2 though. I don't know where the hell's part 1. There was a part 1. Apparently we've already read it though. So I don't know. We'll get into this one though. It may start a little disjointed because I don't know. I don't remember the part 1 myself. So anyway, it has to do with demons, possessions, and exorcisms. Oh my. I'm writing this to give some more information about what was going on. The next day after the last incident, we were staying at my house. We were still scared to death and not sure what to do. I still felt the presence of what harmed her the day before. Okay, I got to look at part 1 here and remember what the hell they're talking about. Because I really don't like these stories where they act like everybody's just, hanging on their every word here. So it was from Kentucky. Exciting happened symptoms. Okay. Oh, this guy was the one that accepted Jesus. And then, 20 minutes. Monica, she was crying. I'm just trying to see what the last story was about. Okay. I vaguely remember this story. Okay. Well, I'm not going to reread the old story. I guess I could reread the old one. It's not that long. Let's reread the old one because this is a sequel to that. And I do want to cover it because it seems to kind of go along with what we're talking about of energy and how to protect yourself. So my name is Brandon, Georgetown, Kentucky, 20 years of age. I've been dating my girlfriend Monica for 3 years now, and about 1 year ago, I woke up in my room to her hitting me. I said, "What the hell is your problem?" And when I turned to her, she was crying her eyes out. I knew something was wrong, and I asked her what had happened. What's wrong with you? And she replied after catching her breath, something woke her up by pressing on her chest. And she tried to say my name, but could not. And she couldn't move or anything, so she was in a sleep paralysis state or, old hag syndrome, whatever. Finally, she came to her senses, and that's when she hit me. So I comforted her and held her back to sleep, not thinking much of it. And then a month later, after the exact thing happened to me, same symptoms and everything. And this is all before I accepted Jesus into my life. And then a year went by. I accepted Jesus into my life and have been studying the Bible hardcore and loving it. And everything was good until now. I was staying over at her house. It was only about 6, and I got a call from my mom telling me that my keyboard had arrived via UPS. And I told Monica that I was going to get my keyboard, make sure it worked properly. And she said that she was going to take a nap while I was gone. I got all my things and was heading out of her room when I got this overwhelming feeling of discomfort. Something was telling me not to leave, and I can't begin to explain this to you, but I was just pushed it to the side because I didn't recognize the fact that there was something else out there. But the whole time on my way home, I still had that feeling. So I get to the house and grab the package with the keyboard, and all those feelings were gone by this time. My mind was on the keyboard. Not 20 minutes later, I got a phone call. It was Monica and crying. And the only thing she said was, "It happened again, but more inferior." Right then, I knew exactly what she was talking about. Why did I leave her? I rushed to her house to find her frightened to death. She couldn't talk because she was in utter shock, so I grabbed the Bible and came into a house. Calmed her down just enough to get the story out of her, and she said she woke up to something sitting on her bed. The first person that came to her mind was me, so she says my name, Brandon. No answer, and then she says God, but before she could finish all the way, it stopped her, threw her arms back on the bed, and turned her head to the side, her eyes facing the wall. It projected a picture of Jesus on the cross with blood dripping down from his head. She tried to stop this by saying, "Come out of me in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit." Once again, she said that in her head, it stopped her at spirit, and grabbed her by the hair and took her close to her closet door. And she tried to say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but again, it stopped her. And this time it grabbed her jaw and forced it downward. She did not give up, and she tries to say it again and puts an extreme pain in her back. Still strong, she says once again, and it left her. She told me that it did not leave me instantly. It crept out of my body. So that's the basics of part 1 there. And it says, let me go back to this one. So this one is, I'm writing this to give some more information about what was going on. The next day after the last incident, we were staying at my house, still scared to death and not sure what to do. I still felt the presence of whatever harmed her the day before. When we closed our eyes to fall asleep, I was the first one to pass out. I woke up for some odd reason and got up and turned the TV on, hoping that this would put me back to sleep, and I lay down for about 10 minutes when Monica woke up and sat up really quickly. She was feeling some sort of pressure on her chest, so I grabbed her hand and started to pray, and at first it didn't help. It took 5 minutes for her to get some relief in her chest, and I then asked myself, did this thing follow us here to my own house? How can something follow you like that? So I told her to go back to sleep, and I'd stay up the rest of the night and make sure she was okay. She fell back asleep, and everything was fine. She woke up at about 10 and said that she had to go home and let Bailey, her dog, out. So I told her that I was going to go to bed, and that if she needed me, just to call me. So she went to her house, and I passed out, and I didn't think that I would get much sleep because I thought for sure that she would call me. 7 hours later, I woke up, and the first thing I did was check my phone to make sure there were no missed calls from her, but nothing. A sign of relief went across me. I would feel awful if something happened and I was asleep. I called her and asked her how it was going, and she said that it could be better. I asked her why, and she said that when she came home, Bailey had her tail in between her legs, like she was scared to death. An hour after that, Monica said that she was folding clothes and heard a little girl say, "Puppy." She heard it twice. No one was home, so she called for Bailey to come into the living room with her. And let me add, this dog is a Great Dane and smart as a tack, and anytime you call her name, she comes in a flash. But she didn't come this time. So she said her name again, and she still didn't come. Monica went towards the room where Bailey was, and here she came, tail between her legs again. 2 weeks after that, every day, we would come home and Bailey would still have her tail between her legs. I know something was scaring and tormenting her. I started to read the Bible out loud every day, and I also opened a Bible and sat it down on her dresser every night. I even went as far as putting my Bible CD in my computer and playing that all night while we slept. One night we were sitting in her bedroom watching television when all of a sudden her door started shaking. Now, there was no window open in the house, and it was way too strong to just be a breeze. We just sat there dazed and scared to death, and I stood up and started to pray in my head, and Monica told me to pray out loud. I tried, but I was paralyzed with fear. When I finally came to my senses, I prayed out loud. It was at that moment I saw a very, very small orb flying towards the dog. When I started to stare, it did a complete 180 and turned right back towards me. I had to duck out of the way or it would have hit me. It disappeared, not to be seen anywhere. I told Monica we had to leave right away. Then something else happened. I heard a screeching sound coming from the hallway or the bathroom. I couldn't tell exactly where, but I asked Monica if Monica heard the sound, and she said yes. "What exactly did you hear?" I asked her. She said something fly past her face. And I was thinking to myself that the sound I heard was the sound it made before it flew past her face. My adrenaline was pumping as hard as it ever pumped. I started to shed a tear. I was so terrified. I grabbed my Bible and told her to come on, we have to go. I put the Bible out in front of me, acting as if it were a shield, and just ran out the door. There are more things that happened, but the ones I have told you are the most severe ones. Thank you to everyone for their comments. I hope this all helps you decide what you think was going on and what I should do. Oh, yeah, that's tough. That's really scary stuff. I don't know. There is dark things out there, there really are. I don't pretend to know what they need, what they want, but there's some things that are just so angry and broken and twisted, and it's not like they can be reasoned with. That's not like they can just, oh, is this a bad idea? Okay, I'll stop. These things are just so tormented, and for whatever reason, for some reason, they're just so twisted up, and whether they could be demonic or not, I can't know. I don't know for sure. I think this, I don't know if I would call this a demonic spirit, but definitely a really twisted, dark thing. And it's hard, what do you do? All you can do is get it purged. You just got to get it out. You can't share your life and your home with something that's so bent on tormenting you and your pets and stuff. And the sad thing is sometimes pets are some of the first targets for these beings. And I don't know if that's, quicker and easier energy than trying to break a person. I don't know. But it is horrible, and we love our pets. We love our pets desperately, and to know that something could be harming them or going after them is just nothing short of torment. So, yeah, don't mess around with dark things. Just get them the hell out. They need to be gone. It's not like you can go, hey, you need to knock this off. If you quit doing this, we can be friends. It's hard to know sometimes whether a spirit is really dark or not. I know we respond with fear because this is an unknown. And sometimes it's hard to know whether a spirit is really dark and trying to really mess with you, or if it's much more innocent than that. But the things they're doing are still terrifying because we don't understand them. But in a case like this, where you're trying to make prayers and stuff, and it's stopping you or trying to stop you actively, that's really terrifying stuff. And that's when you just can't play around. These people are I think they're being brave, dealing with it as best they can, but they should be reaching out to somebody that deals with this kind of stuff and bringing in somebody who's much more practiced at dealing with the dark things, because you can't screw around with that. Once they get dug in, a few shows ago, I was talking about how dark presences are like infections for a home, or it can be for a person too, and a home, but they permeate things. They permeate things with their dark energy and their twisted energy, and they corrupt spaces around them. And that's, if you ever set foot in a place where somebody or something truly evil lived, you'll feel it. You'll feel it on the walls. You'll feel it in the pit of your stomach that something was just wrong here. And that's the corruption. That's the twisted nature of that energy. And some people say that if it goes too far, you can't clean that out of a house. It can't be cleansed. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that it's possible, but I know that it would take a hell of a lot of effort. And a lot of people that believe that think the only thing you can do is just wipe that slate and start again. But the other thing is that in really dark hauntings and stuff, if you just knock down a house, that's not clearing the energy. All you're doing is just erasing a structure. If you don't clear the energy from that area, it could very well just hop into the new home that gets built in its place. So demolishing a home is not in and of itself the cure. Even if if it's an old decrepit house and you want to wipe it out and start over new, you're just going to be introducing something into your new home instead of your old home. You've got to cleanse the area afterwards. Either way, it's got to be cleansed, but certainly removing that infected materials and burning them and stuff. But I would burn them, more religiously, like make those the flames to be a prayer almost, cleanse the evil from this or whatever. But the land itself can be affected, and I don't think that there is evil land necessarily. Like, I think land can be redeemed, but sometimes homes can't be. At least they say. But anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling on here. I know we're long past the hour here, and I hope you guys don't mind. I just want to share those things because I think you got to learn how to protect yourself, and that kind of seems like the theme tonight, right? I hope that what I'm telling you makes sense. I hope that you find some value in those words. I don't know it all. I really don't, but I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like I can share some of this knowledge and maybe help somebody. So I hope that makes sense, guys. But that's about all I got for you tonight. I hope that was good enough. Again, this is my second show today, so I think I'm good now. But I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you, Farm. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else out there, all of you guys. I appreciate it bunches. We love overtime. Thanks, Nessie. I love giving you overtime. That's cool. It's not a bad thing. As long as the minion's not going crazy, and he's not tonight. He must be occupied with something else, so I'm good. But that's all I got for you tonight. So, what's this? Love you all. Paranormal Portal, great show earlier today. Oh, yeah. Please check out the show earlier today, if you would, please, too, if you haven't already. It was just a lot of fun talking to those guys. Now, you got to take a minute to get used to the accents because, those Irish accents can get a little thick. But once you give yourself a second to listen, you should catch on to most everything they're saying. Really great guys. All three of them were wonderful, and it was a lot of fun to talk with them on the show. So, all right, guys, that's it. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I guess I'll be back tomorrow night with the 2-hour show. So hope you'll join me then, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube. I'll be here waiting for you. So I hope you have a great night. Thank you so much, and sweet dreams.